In this, I'm joined by a man who's been covering this, Ken Vogel, chief investigative reporter for Politico. Go ahead, teach us the warring factions within this Trump tower.
Well, one thing you got to remember here, Chris, is like so much of this is personal. It's personality driven. So Chris Christie, you see the purge of all the Christie people, as you mentioned. The Trump people were really upset about him because he skipped the second debate. And then he didn't get an invite to the election night party, and he showed up anyway. And that was like a determining factor, as well as Jared Kushner having a grudge against him because his father was prosecuted by Christie when Christie was attorney general, when he was a state attorney working for the Justice
Jared
Department.
Kushner, the son-in-law of the president-elect, has got a grudge against Chris Christie. It's got nothing to do with Bridgegate or all that stuff.
Well, there was also some concern about Bridgegate, certainly, but like so much of it comes down to the personal. So Corey Lewandowski, another example, feuded just bitterly with various people on the campaign, was eventually pushed out because Jared Kushner had sort of had enough of him, but he retains Donald Trump's ear. Donald Trump wants to reward him.
Who else doesn't like each other?
Well, Bryce Priebus doesn't like Corey Lewandowski either. There's a lot of concern, certainly still towards the Christie people, and even within the transition team, within the establishment types, you have folks like Jeff Sessions and some of the folks who are more socially conservative, who are very happy that Mike Pence is taking over, but were very concerned about Chris Christie and even about Rudy Giuliani, folks who they see as more sort of Chamber of Commerce, Northeastern Republicans. Yeah. Those are tensions that are unique, that are not unique to the campaign, rather, that are sort of inherent in the conservative movement and the Republican Party.
Well, there's been some questions if the transition team will reach out to GOP experts who oppose Donald Trump's candidacy. Last week, Eliot Cohen, a former State Department official under George W. Bush, urged career officials to work with Trump. And this week, Cohen blasted Trump's team, tweeting, "After exchange with Trump transition team, changed my recommendations. Stay away. They're angry, arrogant, screaming, 'You lost.' It's going to be ugly." So in other words, a guy like Eliot Cohen, who's I would call him a moderate neocon, not a hawkish, totally hawkish guy, he was one of the anti-Trump people during the campaign. He went and looked for a position or influence or whatever. They said, "Get out of here. And you lost."
And there's a lot of that, certainly, where they're prosecuting these grudges against people who they deem to be not supportive enough of them. Not even people who are opposed to them, people who are not supportive enough.
Well, this blackballing thing is going to yield a very small core of people he hires.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Everybody's going to have somebody blackballing them.
But the interesting thing is you look at Eliot Cohen, and he's sort of a neocon, and as you suggested in the earlier segment, that seems to be different from the non-interventionist perspective that Trump laid out. But that goes to show you it's not really about policy, because who do they have up there high on the list as a potential Secretary of State? John Bolton.
The ultimate hawk.
Now, where John Bolton sort of crosses some of these lines that we're talking about is he is in with the Mercer family, the very wealthy New York hedge fund folks who funded Breitbart, which was run by Steve Bannon, who funded John Bolton's super PAC, and you see Rebecca Mercer, who's on the transition team. That's the populist wing. That's the populist power base. Bannon is certainly a part of it, but I think a lot of it comes from the Mercers, and they too have butted heads with factions in the Republican Party.
Rudy will get the Secretary of State job if it's announced in the next day or two. If it's prolonged for a week or so, look out for Bolton, because the neocons are very good at what networking. The phone calls will come in from the strangest sources, and Rudy will be hearing them. I'm not Rudy. Trump will be hearing them. He won't even know who's getting the call to make the call. It is very much out of, just read the book Fountainhead. It's just like Ellsworth.
Well, I'll give you a little
Lots of connections. So the longer the decision takes, the better chance Bolton gets it, because he's going to have his regiments out there working Trump.
One person who we understand is in communication with Donald Trump is the quintessential neocon, very influential, exactly what you're talking about. Sheldon Adelson, the Las Vegas casino mogul, will probably have some influence there as well.
Well, fortunately, and it's hard to find the pony in the crap pile these days, I don't think Trump owes a lot of people with money.
Yeah, that's certainly one way to look at it, although the Mercers, again, extremely influential.
I know, but he did it by self-funding, as much as that can be a very bad thing in America, rich people winning all the offices. I do think there is hope. Well, I don't want to give too much hope, because it is all a limited commodity these days, hope being a limited commodity. Ken Vogel, you know your stuff. Keep reporting for us. Thank you. Up next, the Hardball Roundtable on our